Hey there, happy Tuesday, and welcome to another episode of Tuesday Tips. I'm Meg Rentschler. I'm the host of the Star Coach Show, and I'm wondering if you have ever struggled with compromised curiosity when you are in conversations with other people, especially when you are in coaching conversations with other people. As a coach instructor, a coach mentor, and the host of the Star Coach Show, I will say that one of the things I hear most often from especially coaches who are learning the trade, building their muscles right away, is what if I know what the client needs? What if I have the answer for the client? What do I do with that? I just need to tell them. I'm not serving them if I'm not telling them. So today in our Tuesday tips, we're going to dive into what happens when we as coaches abandon curiosity, step into the expert place. When is it appropriate to add our own perspective or expertise, but how do we do that in a way that is coach-like, that values the coaching relationship? And what are some of those slippery slopes that we can get into as coaches that tend to compromise our curiosity the most often? So, as we explore this, one of the things that kind of makes me laugh about myself is that you set out with this plan. Like my Tuesday tips are always going to highlight what comes out in the brand new show that comes out on Wednesdays. And I had it all prepped to kind of talk about as solopreneurs or entrepreneurs, how we try to do a lot of the lifting ourselves and we don't lean into our own genius work sometimes. We try to expand into other areas. I had that all ready for today because tomorrow's show is with Carly Reese, and she's talking about some strategies to really move it forward as solopreneurs, how to leverage our businesses, leverage our expertise as solopreneurs. However, life happens. And today I felt like the universe gave me a different message to share with you because I started my day with a mentor session with a coach who had coached her best friend in the coaching. And when I was listening to the session, her session that she would given me, her coaching session, I was listening and I was thinking, I wonder why this coach isn't exploring this with the client or exploring. There were some things that I thought, the client's offering these. Let's explore that. Let's get curious about that. So I didn't know at the time that I was listening to the session that it was one of this coach's best friends that she was coaching. Well, what happens when we coach people we know really well? We fill in the blanks for them without even knowing it. We use our experience and sort of slip that in. We do that sometimes also with coaching clients that we've worked with for a long time. So we'll talk about that. So that was my first experience this morning. And then I worked with another coach this afternoon who was struggling with finding the balance between being an expert in the field that is his specialty and that many of his coaching clients are in that field. How does he balance his expertise with coaching? So I thought, okay, I get it. You've given me this message twice today on a Tuesday before Tuesday tip. That's what we'll do. We'll talk about compromised curiosity. So I just wonder, are you ever in a place where you're wondering, what do I share? Or that we fall into assumption without even knowing that we're falling into assumption until later when we look back. Let's first just talk about what happens if we abandon curiosity as a coach. What ends up happening often is that we fall into assumption-based guidance rather than wonder and curiosity. And this is the deal. I'm not even saying that you don't have expertise. You definitely have expertise. You are in this role for a reason. And I get that. The whole thing about curiosity as a coach is that you asking questions is about the client's awareness that's being evoked. So even if you think you know something, or through your experience you know something, when we ask the client to explore their perspective, their thoughts, when we ask, what is it that's important to you about this situation? How do you want to be as you engage with this particular aspect? What is bringing you value from this particular thing? When we ask those things, it helps the client evoke new awareness. So often, if we lose our curiosity because we believe that we don't need the answer to a particular question, we're not serving our clients, because it's through that question that they have to challenge their thoughts and go deeper and explore. So, first of all, we can fall into assumption, and assumptions is a pretty slippery slope. We can also become prescriptive, and that's not what the coaching relationship is about. So, our curiosity meets our clients where they're at, helps them explore their context, their experience, their identity, what's happening for them at that given point in that given situation. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we can have lots of experience, but that doesn't mean that we're in that experience with that client. We need to see through their lens. And when we let go of curiosity and fall into our own expertise, we are robbing the situation of the client's ability to step into their resourcefulness, their wholeness, their creativity. So I wanted to share just a couple of the things that can happen. We're going to explore two areas that we can fall into this compromised curiosity like place, that happens pretty regularly. One is the pitfall that happens when we coach a friend or a family member, or even somebody who we have a dual relationship with. Maybe it's our direct report or somebody within our organization. If we're not really cautious about making certain that we're leading with curiosity, we don't be, because if we are not keeping aware of the fact that our questions, our exploration are to help widen this person's lens, and we look through our lens and make assumptions, we're missing an opportunity to be more objective and to help the client explore. The other place that I've seen this happen at times is as we have coached a client over years or months, or we have a relationship established with a client, we've got to be cautious that we are not letting go of our curiosity and just filling in the blanks ourselves. Because now that doesn't mean that we can't check in, or it's to say, based upon a previous conversation that we've had, I'm wondering if, boom, and filling in the blank. But just operating off of assumption is losing an opportunity. So it compromises our objectivity. It also, we can have blurred boundaries. And I get that when we're first coaching, we just want to build those muscles. We want to, build, because we know our telling muscle is pretty solid. We want to build that asking and curiosity muscle. And we can do that through lots of different kinds of coaching and being more coach-like just in general in our relationships. But be aware that if you are in a place of truly, building out what coaching can offer and how it can help you grow, you might, exchange like friends with your coaching colleagues, like maybe you're in a coaching school and you're building your muscles, and one of your friends is one of your cohort is building their muscles, and maybe they coach your best friend and you coach their best friend. Give yourself a little bit of distance so those boundaries aren't so blurred. The other thing is that it can be really confusing for clients if, in fact, let's say I have a mentoring relationship with somebody, and then I decide I've gone to coaching school and now I'm going to do everything coaching. And I just change the relationship because I want to do coaching now. Is that really honoring the relationship that I had with my mentee? So, those are the kinds of things that I would encourage you to just think about in the way of boundaries, in the way of dual relationships, in the way that we are being engaging with the people that we work with. I'm not saying that you can't practice and coach with different people. Now, both of these people that I worked with today are working towards submitting a recording to the ICF. And certainly when you are doing a performance evaluation, you do not want these dual relationships. Pick a coaching client who understands what coaching is, who has something that they're working towards in the way of goals, has the ability to build some insight, and try not to have these dual relationships with people when you're doing your performance eval, because your performance eval is a demonstration of the competencies, and dual relationships can make that super difficult. Okay, so let's go back to compromised curiosity. Another key place that I see and hear and experience uh, compromised curiosity is when we are coaching somebody around a topic that we as coaches have excessive experience in. It's our expertise, whether it is, you are a financial coach, and you're trying to kind of coach somebody around their goals, but you've got an opinion about that. You've got, you're sort of driving towards your solution. We want to be certain that, yes, we have expertise. And yes, there are even times where we might share that expertise. But we want to first always harvest what's the client thinking? What's important to them? What are they working toward? We want to explore with our clients. I was sharing with one of the clients I was working with today, who is a coach, that I used to work with a client who would say to me at the beginning of each session, I need you to tell me such and such. I need you to tell me how to figure this out with my team. I need you to tell me how to manage my boss. I need you to tell me whatever it was. And so, rather than getting into, as a coach, I don't do that. We'd already done that. We'd done the agreement. What I really was curious about was, what I could ask and invite her to share to help me see it through her perspective. So I would say to her, I hear how important that is to you. Let me understand the way that you're looking at it. Let me see what the situation is that you're needing to address in today's coaching. So we'd explore what she'd already tried, what ideally she was trying to get to, what were the barriers that were getting in her way, so that I could see it through her lens. Now, often, well, most of the time, as we were exploring those things, it didn't matter that I might have some expertise in how to deal with the team or how to manage up. It was understanding through her perspective. And often she would begin to say, oh, I get what I need to do. And she would fill in the blanks herself. Now, that doesn't mean that if there was something that wasn't addressed, I might say, would it be helpful if I offered another perspective based upon my experience? You can take it, leave it, tweak it. But I was always harvesting first and meeting her where she was at, challenging her to paint a picture of what the experience was for her at that moment, so that I could see through her perspective and she could also see through her perspective. So that when we come with too much expertise, we make assumptions based upon our expertise. And what we really want to do in the place of curiosity is first seek to understand through their perspective, through the goal that they have, helping them get clearer about what that goal might be. We If we fall too much into expert, we're not really coaching, we're consulting or mentoring, and those are super helpful conversations. But if the conversation the client thinks that they're in is a coaching conversation, let's harvest from them. Let's pull from them before we go planting our own seeds. Let's understand what is important to them, what they've already tried, how their resourceful past can help them succeed in this particular situation. And we want to be sure that we're not tipping the scales so that the client becomes like overly dependent upon us. This is let's empower the client. And let's not have our client feel intimidated or hesitant to share their opinion because they think that we're the expert. Our clients are solidly the experts of their life. They're in the driver's seat of their coaching. So when we think about compromised curiosity, we are in a place of how do we get hijacked sometimes? We get hijacked because we want so badly to help our clients. We want to bring value to our clients. And we know that we have ideas and expertise and different things we can share. But in the coaching relationship, on the continuum of telling and asking, on that continuum, we want to hang out primarily in the asking, exploring, evoking awareness from the client. If we're really good at that, then when we offer without attachment and we get into any of the telling or offering, it is done in the realm of curiosity, exploration, and offer without attachment. So the universe today told me that I was to share about compromised curiosity instead of what I was going to talk about. And with that, just a couple things as we're sort of wrapping up to remember that when we come in compromised in our curiosity, we're far more likely to coach on assumption, to forget that our clients are whole, resourceful, and creative. And two of the situations that I've seen compromised curiosity most often in is when we have dual relationships in the coaching, whether we are coaching a friend, a family member, a colleague, somebody that we're close to. That's actually how come the ICF says that if you are managing somebody and coaching them, you can't put that coaching on your coaching log because it's not true coaching. You've got your own agenda. You've got your own expectations when you are a leader of someone and you're coaching around the way that they're showing up at work. So dual relationships is one way that we can fall out of curiosity. And the other is when something is so close to our own expertise, something that we're really good at. How do we stay curious, draw out the best we can from our clients, allow them to step in their greatness, step in their resourcefulness, their creativity, their past successes, and only share when we have harvested what we can before we plant our own seeds. And when we do that, we only do that without attachment. We do that open-handed as an offer that the client can take or not take or tweak because they are in the driver's seat of the relationship. So that's my Tuesday tips for this week. I thank you for being here. I hope it's helpful. Please leave a comment if this is helpful to you. How does it impact the way that you're showing up in the coach relationship, if at all? Be sure to subscribe wherever you're listening. Follow me on LinkedIn. Subscribe to Star Coach Show at YouTube. We'd love to build more audience there where we often leave tips and strategies for you. So until next week, this is Meg Rentschler wishing you the very best for your success. Have an awesome week, and just remember that the more we enter with wonder and curiosity, the more we learn about others. Thanks so much.